Welcome to the Geek Switch podcast, turning you on to everything new and nerdy.
Hey guys, this is the Geek Switch Podcast, episode 6 for July 19th, 2011. As always, I'm your host and games editor at geekswitch.net, Tony Livingston. This week, I am once again joined by none other than our editor-in-chief, Dante.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks for being on again.
That's why I'm here.
We're going to start this episode by talking about what we've been up to. Dante, what have you been playing lately? I hear you've been playing a little indie gem on the 3DS.
Indie gem?
Yeah,
I wouldn't call it indie.
It's a small little game called Ocarina of Time, right?
Yeah, it's only one of the top-rated games, and by certain groups is one of the best games, period.
Yeah, I think if you go to most score aggregators like GameRankings.com or Metacritic, I think pretty much most of them agree that that's the top game on their list. But it's finally been remade for 3DS, and we've both been playing it. So, what do you think?
I'm very much happy with the upgrades. I mean, it's not a from-scratch port of Legend of Zelda. They have upgraded a lot of stuff, and you can tell it's been upgraded, which is very nice.
Oh yeah, the graphics are definitely a lot crisper. You get the way I describe it to people when they ask me how it looks to me is that it looks a lot like the art that you saw for the game outside of the game itself, like in the instruction manual or the strategy guide.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's definitely... Because, I mean, even the original Zelda had some wonderful artwork in the manual. And that's the sad thing, there really isn't even in a manual in this one. I know they're trying to save, money with... Or not money, but save the environment with reducing the packaging, but no manual in a Zelda game. No gold cartridge on a DS cartridge for a Zelda game still feels weird, too.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they put a little more effort into it. You think maybe they're saving that for the first original 3DS version?
Well, they better. But let's face it, the 3DS's launch lineup didn't exactly have a lot going for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the first real big game we've had for the system, unless you were really into fighting games. And you might have had Street Fighter 4, but the cool thing is, for me, I haven't really gotten to play this game all the way through in the past, ever.
Really?
For those who are familiar with the game, I've only ever gotten to the Forest Temple, which is the first dungeon you get to as an adult. So I'm finally getting to play through it again, and I'm hopefully going to beat it this time.
That's not very far either.
Oh, I know. I'm very familiar with how far I've gotten in the game. The problem is, for some reason, I've always just lost interest at that point, so I'm really hoping I don't hit that. I'm only to Zora's domain right now, so I haven't gotten to anything I haven't seen yet, but...
Well, I mean, the game does get better if you're getting... It's also like with a lot of games, it's like Assassin's Creed, which I've been playing actually quite a bit recently because I lucked out and got them all for a very good price. Too much of a good thing. If you play through a game all at once, sometimes it's bad because you're just, I don't know, throwing yourself too much. I mean, it's a long game. Like, there's no way I could beat Assassin's Creed 2 in like 2 or 3 days. I think
that's true.
Sometimes you need to space some things out.
Yeah.
I think Zelda's a good example of that. It's a game that's better if you play it over days and days and days. Like Final Fantasy games. You don't play Final Fantasy games from start to end without breaking.
Exactly. And that's one of the nice things is now that it's a portable game, is you can take it everywhere. I got to play a lot of it this weekend when I was going on my trip to St. Louis. I played about an hour and a half in the car just on the way down. So it was really convenient for me to do that, whereas I probably wouldn't have gotten to play it, if it was on a home console at that point. I mean, there's not a whole lot added to this version, but obviously on the 3DS it is in 3D. How do you feel about how 3D is implemented in the game?
It actually helps the jumping quite a bit. I mean, the platforming feels a lot easier. Uh, it still takes time to adjust to because it's just one of those things that they did really well in the integration of it, but it still feels weird, at least for me, because I remember playing the game in 2D.
Mm-hmm.
I think more original titles, it'll be less awkward for me because it's like, oh, this is a new game. I'm not used to it. I find.
Well, I was gonna say the really interesting thing is that a lot of the scenes almost seem like they were designed for 3D in the first place. Like I remember when I first saw the scene with Navi flying at the beginning through all the things. When you fly down from Death Mountain, when you're holding on to the owl.
But you forget that this was also a showcase of the N64 because it was one of the first really big N64 games after Mario.
Absolutely, and I absolutely think that's one of the reasons that it does work so well is they were still playing with 3D at that time. So I think a lot of these 3D conversions from N64 and PlayStation 1 era, where they were still playing with that whole moving away and towards the screen, really works well. And I think hopefully that carries over to Star Fox 64 for the 3DS, which is coming out in August or October, maybe.
Yeah, around there. I mean, that's actually one I never did play myself.
I
played the original Star Fox. I played the second one. Never did play the 64 one.
You're in for a treat. I love that game.
Didn't play a GameCube one either.
Oh, you could be excused for missing both of the GameCube ones. I personally like Assault. If you ever get a chance to go back and play it, it's kind of cool. You can, especially the multiplayer. The single player's not fun, but if you were like me and only had a GameCube around that time, it was a really fun third-person shooter where you could jump in a bunch of vehicles and stuff.
Yeah, see, the problem with that is that would require me dusting off my Wii, which... yeah, that's all it's good for right now.
And it's also kind of pointless because you can't really play with anyone. It's all local because it was GameCube, You can't go online. But hopefully... I don't know if I've heard anything about it, but I hope the 64 remake for 3DS has online play because that would be really fun.
If I remember correctly, it only has local.
Well, we might have to do some of that when it comes out then.
Yep. But yeah, I think it's definitely the best game on the system to date, which is not surprising. I think it's going to take me for a while to finish it, just because I want to sit and enjoy it. It's like a good book; you don't want to rush through it.
Yeah, I got about another week till games start coming out again, so hopefully I can put some time into it and finally finish this game that's been haunting me all these years. But outside of that, I've been playing a lot of Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon for the Xbox 360, although it's also out on PS3 now. And this is a smaller budget title as far as production goes. It is the sequel to Earth Defense Force 2017, which was an early game in the Xbox's life cycle. My review's up on geekswitch.net. We're not going to talk too much about it since Dante, of course, hasn't played it. But I just want to go ahead and say I think this is a really, really good game. I really wanted to give this game 5 stars straight up. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be for everyone. I think if you can get some friends to play together and play co-op, you're going to have an absolute blast with this game, though. Now, Dante, you've played the original 2017, right?
I think I may have at one point in time. I know it's basically kind of making fun of or paying homage to the campy 1950s giant aliens attack such and such town, so on and so forth.
Exactly. So those not familiar with the concept of the game, basically you pick from one of 4 classes. I believe there's a really, really heavy class. There's the class I like to play the most, which was Jet, character that has a jetpack and fly around really fast. There's your kind of all-around character, and then there's a guy who sets up turrets and does all sorts of technical things. But basically, the point of the game is to blow up all the giant ants or whatever sort of insects there are. And I mean, at first, these basically just look like giant, huge, building-sized ants. But at some point, they start to look a little more alien and stuff. It's a lot of fun. It has 3-player online co-op, 3-player, for survival mode, I believe it's 6 players online. So you can get a lot of people together. If you have a lot of friends who want to get this game, it's relatively cheap at $39. So check it out. I think you'll like it a lot. But moving on from games, let's move into the probably biggest release of the week, Harry Potter 7 Part 2.
Yep. Let's see. Since it's Monday and we've had time for the weekend to pass, they've actually come through and what's that?
We've got the box
come in
office
through
results,
and said,
right?
yeah. Which, let me bring that up real quick, is 169,189,427 dollars.
Which is a record, right? That's the number one opening of all time, isn't it?
It is now. Which originally was Dark Knight, which was 158 million, followed by Spider-Man 3 with 151. And oddly enough, number 7 is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. So it destroyed, even it's a original record for the movie before it, which is kind of surprising considering typically with movies, as they go down the road into sequels, they tend to get worse and worse, where this is a series that's gotten better and better with the sequels.
That's true, especially when you take into account the fact that you have these child actors who have really grown into being good actors as the series has gone on. I mean, you have 8 movies. There was bound to be a lot of improvement in their acting skills.
Yeah, there's actually, I've been thinking about putting it on the site, there's a parody interview with Daniel Radcliffe, it's actually him. He goes on this rant about how he is Harry Potter. He is no longer Daniel Radcliffe. When he actually goes out in public as him, he's acting as this actor that played another role. And it's like, I don't think I can think of a actor that has played the same role for so long in a movie series. Mm-hmm. Can you think of one off the top of your head?
How long was Sean Connery Bond for?
Not that long. I mean, he was Bond for quite a while, but I mean...
He might have been for 8 movies. It was around that.
Was it 8?
I want to say before Timothy Dalton took over. He was on for a while, but it is probably the longest run, if not that.
So I'm trying to think of a movie series. Well, no, I guess... you got the Star Trek films.
Well, the Star Trek, with only the first few are how many are... The original series, and then it goes over.
The original series have 6.
Yeah, so that's not the same amount then. I mean, that's not going to be 8. I mean, this is probably the longest franchise in movie history outside of James Bond, right?
I think there's the Rocky films. There's the...
How many Rockies are there?
Quite a few. Because there was
I want to say 6 or 7 with the remake. Or not the remake.
5. Well, that wasn't a remake. That was a sequel.
Right.
I think there's 6. Then you have there's the Nightmare Before Elm Street.
Yeah, there's a lot of horror movies, I suppose, that have had lots and lots of sequels, and then even reboots on some of them.
Yep.
But
it definitely is like one of the. But that's the point I had is when you have a long running series like that, like example of Star Trek, they kind of got really bad at some points.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely with the Rocky films. Rocky 5 was one of the worst films I can think of. They usually don't get better in this series. And that's the thing is, I never read the books.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had refused, after seeing 3 movies, people were like, oh, you need to go read the books. And when Deathly Hallows came out, everyone's like, yeah, I'm going to know the ending. It's finally, I was like, I'm going to wait for the movie because I purposely started watching the movies without having really much of a knowledge of the series or want to have a knowledge of the series. And then started watching the movies, go, I do want to know more about this universe, but now when I don't want to read the books and go, I'm seeing Daniel Radcliffe, not what she envisioned the character to be. It's just kind of, it felt weird. I wanted to segment them between the two. Like, it'd been years and years and years since I'd read Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So when I went to see the films, it felt fresh. And that's the thing is, I kind of wanted to not know the ending either. I didn't want to go into the film. I was really tempted. After the end of part 1, I was so fucking tempted to go watch or read the movies so I had
read the books,
some idea. Read the books so I can have an idea of how this is going to end. Mm-hmm. And the trailers, for those who haven't seen it, the trailer is so misleading. And it's one of the few times I can think in recent memory a movie trailer has done that. Like Transformers, that movie trailer, we knew what was coming with Transformers. Shit was going to blow up.
So how do you
Yeah.
mean that it was misleading? Let's turn on the spoilers here for like 5 minutes. Just what was misleading about the trailer for you?
Like the point where he grabs Voldemort and goes, "Let's end this the way it started, me and you," or something along those lines, and he falls. I thought that was the moment that, because I knew, like I had basically ended up watching a parody video a couple days early, and I knew Harry was going to technically die somewhere. And as I was watching the movies, especially in the last couple ones, in my mind is like, he has to die. There's no way he cannot die.
Ah.
And they even poke.
Well, he does die though, of course. He
Yeah,
just comes back.
But I didn't think it would. I thought, I didn't think it was then. And in the trailer, the way the ending battle, it almost seems more climactic in the trailer than it does in the film, because the way it's put together, there's certain more moments that seem more climactic, like the fight in the forest. In the film is a less climactic than it is in the trailer, in my opinion.
That's interesting. So how do you feel about the movie overall? I haven't really talked to someone who hasn't read the books and has seen the movie now and gotten that perspective. What did you think of the movie?
I actually loved them. I think it's a really great series. I think it gets too much criticism for certain things by certain groups of people that are maybe older in age. They're like, "Oh, it's the devil. These movies are evil. Magic is evil." And it's like,
Yeah.
no.
And I, honestly, as someone who has read all of the books and seen all of the movies at midnight up until this point, as a huge fan, I thought it was a great movie, absolutely fantastic for anyone who is a fan of the series. My only concern is, it is the 8th movie. Anyone who tries to go and watch this, are they going to enjoy it? I don't know. I mean, is it a good spectacle? Granted, you could say, obviously, it's the 8th movie, you probably shouldn't jump in at this point, but if someone just wants to go see a big action movie, is this something that you would say that they might see anyway?
Only if they go rent, and there's absolutely no excuse when a movie is titled Part 1 and Part 2, not to go watch, because, you have to go watch the first film. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm expecting when they do the new big release of, all the Blu-rays and DVDs, that they might just combine them into one film. At some point, they are going to combine them into one damn film.
Do you mean Part 1 and Part 2 or all 7?
No, Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, and
like the extended edition of the movie, because it is one film, period. It really is, because the way it ends and the way it starts between Part 1 and Part 2, it's
exactly the same.
Part 2 is like, it's if you didn't see Part 1, you're screwed.
Oh yeah, well Part 2 opens with a cold open that is basically the last scene from Part 1. Like I said, if they hadn't put the logo, Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 2 there, you could have basically just started watching and not known that you were in a different movie at all.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, I don't remember, you saw that a lot during the 80s and early 90s, is where you would see kind of a sequel setup like that, where it was purposely ending right into another film. And we haven't seen that in the more recent years, is because that really pissed people off when there wasn't a second movie or a third movie. So they always leave it open-ended for a sequel or something. They don't purposely go, Mortal Kombat. Best example of that is Mortal Kombat. It's like, oh, the movie's over, and then all of a sudden, set up for the sequel. And yeah, that's kind of the same film. If you didn't see the first one and you kind of jump in the second one, you're kind of confused, because it does that same cold open thing where it picks up directly where the last one ends. And I kind of miss that too. I like having that sense, and that's probably the reason I like these films so much, is I like having that sense of continual story with the same characters. I kind of despise reboots. Only if it's a reboot from something from 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, that's fine. Like before we got on the podcast, we were discussing the new Spider-Man suit for The Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah. And this is actually one of the reasons I kind of hate this film, even if it's an amazing film. Why is it being rebooted? Can we just find new actors and continue with the goddamn story? Do we really need another Spider-Man origin story?
Well, you could have said the same thing with Batman, though.
But you have to remember, there was enough time between the Batman films.
I'll agree, but well, let's see. Spider-Man 3 was when? That was 2005?
That's only 6
Yeah.
years, and there was only 3 films. With the Batman films, there was, what, 5 or 6 films? I don't remember because they kept getting progressively worse. Again, that goes into sequelitis, where
I'm sorry,
you know,
Spider-Man 3 was 2007.
yeah, that's really not that long ago.
Yeah.
And at least they didn't do.
I think the problem is that a lot of people had a bad taste left in their mouth after Spider-Man 3, which I liked Spider-Man 3. I'm probably the only person in the world because, as you would say, I'm a Marvel fanboy.
Yeah, you are. And come on, please at least say you despise the fucking jazz scene. Emo Spider-Man, emo Peter Parker doing the jazz walk.
I have no comment on that, although I will say that I have no problem with it personally. But outside of that, I won't comment on whether it was good or bad. I mean,
it was horrible. It was fucking retarded. Dude, I can't remember what artist online, but there was an online comic artist that made a joke where it's Batman and Superman sitting in a diner having lunch, and they just see him walk by, and it's just like both of them facepalm. Because it's just, that entire thing ruined the entire movie for me, because it was just like, it was out of place. It was out of place because the black spider suit did not make him emo. It made him aggressive. He didn't turn him into this dancing Glee wannabe.
Oh, to be fair, this was before Glee, so you couldn't say that it was like, trying to capitalize on that popularity.
No, it was just stupid. Let's just face it. It's worse than Jar Jar.
Ouch. I don't know if it's worse than Jar Jar. I thought it was kind of cute and kind of silly, like in the comics. Not everything in Spider-Man has to be super serious. I found it was funny. I don't know.
But this is a perfect segue into Jar Jar and an opinion of some of the special features, because one of the things I have been doing this week movie wise is yesterday I took some time off and watched Robot Chicken's Star Wars episode, or the Star Wars
3
Robot Chicken 3.
Is that good? I've been meaning to check that out. I saw that was on store shelves.
It's I believe it was Emmy nominated or something. They keep talking about it on the DVD. It won multiple awards, I know that. But the Blu-ray has some wonderful special features, including them just sitting down with the great creator himself of
Seth Green.
Well, not Seth Green. I'm going to hell.
George Lucas.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, people, they talk about when they first did the skit, like, oh dear God, Lucas is going to kill us, and they go on this. They have all these special features involving him. I think there's 3 involving George Lucas himself. The man has a sense of humor. You don't think that because all the interviews and everything you see with him, he's always so deadpan and serious. And, the Robot Chicken stuff is far from serious. Hands down, it's screwy and weird. And it's only on Blu-ray, it's only $15, which is not bad at all. Is this something that you should absolutely watch on Blu-ray? No, it's Robot Chicken. But the extra special features was kind of cool, which was, I believe it was them. They had their entire panel from Star Wars Celebration 5, which was kind of cool, because I love when they do, like, the Comic-Con, the panels, and put them actually on the DVDs, because hopefully we'll get to go to Comic-Con next year, which is the end of this week. But a lot of people don't get to, so it's neat to see that. And, they have the entire documentary of them doing the Robot Chicken skate dance party, which did come through Kansas City.
Wow, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's how they actually promoted the film. Is they threw a free concert and skate party from LA all the way to New York, and it passed right through Kansas City. But one of the, going back to the Jar Jar thing, is one of the interviews, and I never thought about it this way, is Lucas goes on this entire thing of, well, when the original trilogy came out, when the original movie came out, everyone hated C-3PO. Really hated him, thought he was annoying.
Really?
And there's actually jokes written into Empire, where, C-3PO was like, someone shut him up! And that was kind of George Lucas voicing the opinion of the fans at the time. And C-3PO was the annoying character up until Ewoks.
Right.
And then for years, the fans bitched about Ewoks. And then Jar Jar came along, and it's like, if he makes 7, 8, 9...
We're going to fall in love with Jar Jar Binks is what you're saying.
I don't say that we'll fall in love with him, but he'll become less annoying.
Yeah.
Because there might be something we go, what the fuck are you doing now, Lucas? What the hell? And it's very possible. And I think back and I was like, you know what? C-3PO is kind of fucking annoying. He really is. I could see that being, seeing those for the first times going, God, somebody shoot the gold damn droid.
I think the other thing is we've watched these movies when we were kids, so we grew up with those. So when we see Jar Jar Binks for the first time, we're offended by it probably when we see episode 1. But the kids growing up with it nowadays, they probably love Jar Jar Binks just like we like C-3PO and we like Ewoks,
Granted, C-3PO is, voiced by a British actor well-renowned versus
a blithering idiot with Jar Jar Binks. But
not the actor, but
well, yes, the dialogue is written as a blithering idiot. Jar Jar Binks is a blithering idiot.
But it goes back to that entire thing of it. You see, not only do you have the fun parody of everything Star Wars in this, including it basically follows 3 characters. It follows Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
It follows Boba Fett, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it's like Steve or something. It's this randomly generic stormtrooper who just kind of ends up in really bad situations. Like he's the reasons that Ewoks hate the Empire because he accidentally hit one of them while taking his buddy's speeder for a joyride and then ends up beating him to death, putting him out of his misery. Or they're at Aunt Beru's house and they're having cookies and milk, and he goes in the bathroom and accidentally knocks over a candle, causing the Lars homestead to catch on fire, and he runs out, and that's the reason they actually got caught alive, burned alive. And it's toying with the canon in a tongue-in-cheek way. Mm-hmm. And, like the entire no from Darth Vader in Episode 3, they kind of ripped that apart. Instead of having, when he comes off the medic bed, he stands up and it's actually directly on the cover of the DVD, which is he goes into disco.
So how do you compare this to the previous two? Do you think it's just on par? Or is it better than the other two? Worse?
The first two, I believe, were only half an hour each.
Yeah.
The first time they did it, they were kind of getting away with a little bit of stuff because they didn't know how Lucas would react. I think this one's a lot better, actually, because they had permission, more or less, to kind of rip at stuff. Because Lucas thought it was funny and kind of encouraged them to kind of, poke fun at things like, what was Boba Fett doing stuck in the Sarlacc? And, he has this dream of him just ripping everyone apart instead of the complete opposite of what happened in the actual movie. And, the jokes like, the Emperor having to deal with not going into an elevator and having to take an escalator through the Death Star and having every stormtrooper pass him go, Emperor? And as he keeps having to, salute and say stuff to the stormtroopers, he gets more and more pissed off. And, it's like, again, the whole random, I really need to look up the name of this stormtrooper, but it's a recurring, just cheesy character. He says, and he's like, go fuck yourself. And the stormtrooper's like, oh, it's a running joke through the entire DVD, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Have you seen all the Family Guy ones as well?
I think it's actually a lot better than the Family Guy ones, because the Family Guy ones were just recreating the movies.
I agree.
Family Guy.
I definitely like Robot Chicken's take on it better, but I do enjoy the Family Guy one. The first time through anyway.
The Family Guy ones actually make fun of the Robot Chicken one because Seth Green voices Chris on Family Guy. It's like, didn't Robot Chicken already do this?
Like, no, I don't.
Nobody
think so.
watches. Nobody watches that show.
Yeah, it's cable. No one watches it. Exactly. No, but there's good back and forth between those shows, and I think they're both really funny. So if you like Star Wars and you like, looking at it from a more lighthearted perspective, definitely check all those out, especially the new ones.
And the Blu-ray is only about $15. I think the regular DVD is only 12. I mean, that's less than going to the movie. That's less than I paid to go see Harry Potter, and I had just as much fun. Speaking of other movies, though,
I think that's probably going to cover us for what we've been playing this week, right? And playing and doing.
Yeah.
So let's move on to just news then.
About I want to say Wednesday, for about 4 or 5 hours on the site, we had a link to the Dark Knight Rises trailer.
And then it was taken down.
Yes. Just like there is out there, if you can find it, it'd probably be gone by the time this is up. Or someone may have reposted it. There's a really rough recording of the Avengers trailer, which we'll probably see in front of Captain America. But the Dark Knight Rises trailer is out there.
Dark Knight Rising. Is it Rises or Rising? I think it was Rises, but you have it listed here as Rising.
I think it is.
It's Rises.
Rises, correct.
Yeah.
And I posted a link on the site to the trailer, but I also posted a parody right below it, because the parody actually makes a very good point. Harry Potter comes out. Green Lantern, as much as we liked it, a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, it also didn't do well.
So the parody, which is actually by this guy who takes Marvel and DC figures and makes fun of trailers and has his own story.
Mm-hmm. He's been doing that a long time on YouTube.
Yeah, same guy, and he makes a good point. Is, well, they haven't really shot a lot of the movie, and you can kind of see that in the trailer. Is like, shit, Green Lantern didn't do that well. Fuck, Harry Potter's coming out. Get us a teaser. We need a teaser. Get us a teaser.
Do we have enough of Superman? No. Do we have enough of Dark Knight? Not really. Well, get some more Dark Knight and just do it. Right?
Yeah, and that's kind of the joke they make, and you can really see it in the teaser. The teaser is more lines and footage from the previous two films than the new one. There's like a split second of Bane, basically.
Yeah, and most of it is just a guy talking in a hospital bed, and the blurry clip I saw, I couldn't even tell who it was. So
I think it actually is Commissioner Gordon.
That's interesting.
I'm pretty damn sure it's him. Why wouldn't? Because they couldn't have some random guy. It wouldn't make any sense. To him, yes, it makes sense.
No, when you went to see Harry Potter, you saw the trailer for it.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't, unfortunately, to see it either time I saw Harry Potter this weekend. I guess that's a AMC exclusive then, right? Because the Cinemarks I went to didn't have it.
Yeah, that's an entire probably discussion we'll save for another podcast of, is it better to pay more money for a better seating and versus a cheaper theater and
worse seating? Yeah. But yeah. We didn't see enough about Dark Knight Rises really here to make a judgment on what we think the movie's gonna be like. Obviously, we are kind of excited about it because it's the sequel to one of the best superhero movies, but they don't really give us much information to go on here. There's a little more information, however, in the Avengers trailer that we saw that leak of. It's very blurry. We obviously haven't seen it. We'll probably see it when we go see Captain America this week, but it looked pretty cool. I mean, obviously it has all the actors returning to play their respective roles. You got Thor.
Except for Hulk.
Right, except for Hulk, because Edward Norton, unfortunately, is not going to be returning to reprise that role. Do you know who's playing Hulk?
I could care less. It's not Edward Norton.
Yeah.
I actually liked the reboot.
I think all of us at the website actually liked the reboot. It was really well done, and Edward Norton's a great actor. He did a good job with playing Bruce Banner. I don't think you're going to get too much arguments against it.
No, but both of them, I love getting leaked stuff because it's up there for just a little bit, and you kind of if you didn't see it, kind of screwed. But at the same time, I really wish they would just put shit out early, because we all know it's going to be in front of Captain America. There's no reason for it not to be in front of Captain America, and if it's not in front of Captain America, people will be pissed. What I think it actually is it's probably because we've got Comic-Con this week and Captain America. It was kind of going to be an either-or thing, because they tend to like to premiere trailers at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And luckily, if Captain America was next week, you definitely would have saw it at Comic-Con this weekend and released online.
Mm-hmm.
There was something last year that leaked. I think it was
it was Green Lantern,
Lantern? Yeah. And people were kind of like, what the hell is this? And not very happy with that.
Well, yeah, to be fair, though, that I think the CG was still early in that early leak, although the Avengers looks pretty fine, although we can't tell too much from how blurry it is.
Again, yeah, that's a good thing. But speaking of trailers, there's 2 video game trailers that I put up just an hour or so ago that are kind of surprising.
Well, it'll be a day ago from when we put the podcast up.
Okay.
But if you go back about a day on the website, you'll see the trailers.
As we're recording, yes. Voltron, a Xbox Live PSN
download
Voltron game.
5-player co-op looks pretty cool.
But again, for people who I've touched on Voltron a couple times, it's one of my favorite shows of growing up. I loved giant robots like Transformers and Voltron and Robotech.
How could you not love giant robots? They're awesome.
Because the shows recently that have had them have been crap, with the exception of Transformers Prime. Voltron, the new Voltron cartoon, it's interesting. It's not horrible, but it's not amazing like something else we'll get to later in the podcast because I completely blanked on it. But it just really surprises me that the game is based around the 1980s Voltron, the original show, and not the new one. You think they would try and promote, especially with Nickelodeon,
try and get some promotion out for the newer series, you mean?
Yeah, it just feels kind of weird. Now, the idea of 5-player co-op, that's going to kind of screw some people's minds, I'm sure. But there's 5 lions, so it makes sense.
Yeah, obviously. But it looks like it's a kind of top-down, almost in the style of the top-down levels from like Bionic Commando, if you're familiar with that.
It looks very shmuppish, shoot 'em up.
Yeah, you're kind of running and shooting in your little lions, and then apparently at some point you all join into being the giant Voltron robot. The question is, for me anyway, who controls that robot?
Yeah, we'll figure out when it comes out, or I'm sure they'll put out some news about it. Mm-hmm. The other horribly just
terrible, just in every way, abysmal.
There's a Korean Transformers game being released, and I think it actually is in beta right now, called City of Transformers. Well, I don't know. There are far better trailers that could be put on the site, but this one I found just happened to be in Russian. And it just gave way to a perfect, really bad Soviet Russian joke, and I was just like, why is this game being made? Why is there a Russian trailer for this bad game?
Well, yeah, and if you go watch this trailer, it almost looks nothing at all like Transformers.
We had to go find other trailers of the game.
Mm-hmm. Dante was showing me this trailer, and I was like, this isn't Transformers. There's a giant glowing tree, there's people transforming into robots, but there's not really a transforming robot. But then, we found some other trailers that had a little more transforming, but the art style is so different from what you expect from a Transformers.
Yeah, but it's a Korean MMO, so it's scaled down in graphics. They're more about putting it out as quickly as possible. It's blah, blah, blah. Who cares? It's going to probably be crap. And we're going to get Transformers Universe, which is going to be based on the Prime universe, which that show is doing wonderful. But as MMO news, there's just a little bit of... This is going to be kind of an interesting week because Comic-Con has become very much known for multimedia. It's become known for movies, comics, toys, and video games. And that's kind of the one thing is one of the biggest video game releases out there this year for BioWare is going to be Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Outside of Dragon Age 2, which is already out, it's their only release, right? Because Mass Effect 3 was
I believe
delayed.
so. Yeah, Mass Effect got pushed back. And you know what? I think they actually pushed Mass Effect back to finish this project, to get this project out this year, because they've come out in a recent interview and said that the game is longer than every BioWare title put out to date. Which, if you think about that, that's kind of scary.
Certainly impressive if true.
Well, this is coming from them, but you have to remember this is an MMO. It has to be bigger than everything they've done because it has to last. Like WoW has lasted 7 years, a long time. EverQuest has lasted over a decade. Star Wars Galaxy lasted 8 years.
Well, exactly, but I think a lot of that stuff is taken care of through patches and updates and new expansions, though.
But to be competitive in this market, because you're not a big PC gamer, I am. To go against WoW is like...
Oh, absolutely. You definitely have to have a lot of content up front. You have to be ready to go because you're already dealing with a behemoth that's been out there for 7 years that has built up this fan base that has all this content.
Yeah. It's like a little league team trying to play the Yankees in the World Series.
Yeah, you better come ready.
Or you're going to get bent over and treated like, Yeah, I'm not going to finish that comment. But and it's the first completely voiced over 100% MMO. Everything that you sip, like this might be the MMO you play because you're such a big BioWare fan. Like the stuff you can do with companions and every other every other BioWare game, where you get companions. You can lose them permanently by sending them away. You can have them killed. You can lose them. You can romance them. And I like one of the game designers in the interview comes out and says, "Yeah, one things we wanted to do is be the first MMO where you can have an online divorce with one of your characters." I was like, you know what? I could see BioWare trying to achieve something like that just to be one of those companies that we did it first.
Yeah, and BioWare's always been one of those companies that has striven to kind of bring out the emotions in games and make you really have these tough choices. So, if maybe they have some way that a divorce could actually be really impactful to your character in the story of the game, who knows?
Yeah, each character has 8 hours, or each class has 8 hours of currently of a story. And that's the other thing is, you do something that... Like, if you lose a companion and you need it later on, it's gone. It's an MMO. There is no quick refresh of, I need to reload, I need to reload, I accidentally did this. BioWare is known for making games where if you make choices, it will affect shit. Fallout 3 is a really good example of that.
Well, that wasn't BioWare, though.
Oh, that was Bethesda.
But obviously Mass Effect is hugely influenced by choices. I mean, so much to the point that it carries over from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3.
No, but
so I'm saying there's a huge amount of choice there.
Since you're a better BioWare fan than me, was there a point in Dragon Age? It's been so long since I've played Dragon Age where that's why I was bringing up Fallout as a good example of this type of storytelling, where if you do option A, option B is completely screwed.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's points like that in a lot of games. I don't know if Dragon Age specifically had a point like that, if you're talking about 1 or 2, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if BioWare is harsh about that, because we'll just use Bethesda's Fallout 3, where in the very beginning, if you save Megaton, you have that town. If you do not save Megaton, you get to blow up Megaton, and it's permanently gone.
And you lose all those quests for all the people that were there.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to get to, is that will happen in the Old Republic. They are saying if you kill a NPC because, it's like you're playing a Sith, and that's the choice you make versus letting him run off, quest lines will completely change, and it's a permanent change. Unless you re-roll a different character and choose that differently, which can be hours and hours and hours of gameplay, that's going to be a big impact. And I know there's people who are not MMO fans, and there's supposed to be 3 pillars to MMOs, and the fourth one that they're trying to add in is story. And I don't think I can think of a company that could do this better than BioWare. And like you're not a big MMO player, but you're a big BioWare player,
and I like Star Wars, of course. So that
and this might drag. I'm sure if we let you play it, you're going to go, I need to upgrade my computer. I need to get a better computer to play this. And I know a lot of people that are like that. They're like, I don't want to play World of Warcraft, but BioWare Old Republic, because it is. They've said it's basically like Old Republic 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Yeah.
9.
Do you think there's any chance of this coming to consoles if it's successful?
I don't think so, because it's, even though it's more action based, it's not the same action based as DC Universe, where DC Universe was designed to be played on a console. And a lot of people don't realize, is like, well, why can't we port World of Warcraft to a console?
There's too many hotkeys, obviously. I mean, there's too many buttons you would need. Although, for me, it almost makes sense. Star Wars: The Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic was originally on Xbox. 1 and 2 both were. So it seems like there's already probably.
But they were also on PC.
Yes, exactly. But I think there's probably a bunch of people who have Xboxes and probably PS3s even, who have played these games and would be interested in getting them. So maybe if it's successful, it is EA, so you never know. It's not like Blizzard where they never go to a console. This is EA. They might do it if it's making them money.
I'd hate to say it, and this is one of the biggest complaints I have about consoles, and PS3 thankfully isn't as bad about this, because you can actually hook a mouse and keyboard into the PS3 and play Unreal Tournament. Is for something like this where it's an MMO where there's so many hotkeys and you need to be able to chat easily. It's not voice chat, which you could do, but I mean, at the same time, the end user interface in DC Universe or DC Online was just kind of cumbersome. It didn't feel, at least playing on PC for me, it's like you could tell it was designed for console gamers. Like the UI was big and made for a TV. You couldn't adjust it, and they've fixed that recently with some patches, which is wonderful. But if you could hook a mouse and keyboard and, on the back of the game go, you need a mouse and keyboard to play this game, yes, it would be perfect for consoles. But there's also the two major issues of the 360, unless you own a bigger console, there's updates that require hard drive space. Same thing with the PS3. And a lot of console gamers don't want to deal with that shit. They don't like the idea of having to install something.
All right, well, you've given me a thought. What if EA put it on the Wii U and you have the keyboard on the touchscreen?
See, that would work. Well, it would sort of work.
Obviously it's not multi-touch, but I think you could do well enough.
I just don't think consoles are a viable market for MMOs the way they're being designed for PC. If a MMO is being designed specifically for a console, which there was I remember one that I was actually really looking forward to called I think it was True Fantasy. It was supposed to be designed for the Xbox. And it was ahead of its time because it was supposed to be voice chat and it was supposed to be more action oriented. There was actually
Microsoft developing that, right?
Yeah,
it was internal.
And it kind of disappeared.
Well, it was officially canceled after a while, but I think there was a few years there where it just went dark. And it was one of the things they originally talked about when they were talking about Xbox Live, that there was going to be this big MMO that, everyone on Xbox Live could be in and do all these things. But then eventually it got canceled, and that's a shame.
And then there's the argument, well, there's Phantasy Star Universe. And I was like, yes, which is basically a corridor dungeon crawler. It's not a big open world MMO.
It's more Monster Hunter than it is World of Warcraft.
Exactly. And those work fine. And Dust 514 is a shooter that will work.
To some extent.
They've already I think it'll work fine. Because they've hinted at PlanetSide 2 possibly be on all three consoles, which I could see.
Really? You think PlanetSide could come to Xbox?
See, that's the thing, is they had some interviews recently, because you watched that evening premiere event, but the next day they actually had some Q&A panels, and they actually recorded it and put it online. And when they were asked, well, is it going to be PC only? They were like, They were like, well, at this time, that's what we're shooting for, but the future might hold more, and we're not just talking about a Sony platform. And they specifically hinted at trying to push it for other platforms. And also, it's Sony Online Entertainment, which is not, they're associated with Sony. They're part of the same company, but it's still Sony wanting to make money.
True. I mean, just like you saw, the Pokemon Company, which is partially owned by Nintendo, even putting out an iPad app in Japan.
Exactly. So it's not too far-fetched, but it's still probable.
Yeah, I think it'd be really surprising still, but who knows? Sony has done stupider things in the past as far as what they put out on what.
Well, yeah, but also 10 years ago, we didn't think we'd see a Sonic game on a Nintendo console. And I've made that point before, and it's absolutely true. Is where Sonic will never ever be in a game with Mario,
except for that he was
Sonic
in 2 in 1 year.
Yeah,
and then he was in another one. He has another one coming out.
Yeah. So yeah, if Sony wants to make money and really take a chunk out of Microsoft's, I would laugh my ass off if PlanetSide launched at this almost the same time, say a month or two before Halo 4, and did really, really well. You could see those fanboys going, Halo, I love Halo, but there's only 16 people who can play in this game. Or PlanetSide, I can play in the same battle with a few thousand players.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the infrastructure is quite there to properly bring an MMO to the Xbox yet. You might, although by next year we may be seeing the new Xbox. So,
except analysts are saying, well, we should see it maybe be hinted at because they're saying not till 2014.
I was talking to someone at Microsoft over the weekend, and this is completely unconfirmed, obviously, but from what I heard, there is a possibility that they would try to hurry out the Xbox next year because Microsoft, in the past anyway, has they have this tendency anyway to kind of announce something and then have it out by the fall.
Yeah, but that's the other thing is they also probably have to realize, Nintendo beat us last time and took a huge market share.
Mm-hmm. But they're basically going for the same thing, and if Microsoft is coming out with a console that looks significantly better, especially, and here's the best part of the rumor that I heard, if they launch with Halo 4, it's going to be a huge success.
Yeah, period. But they have.
I mean, it seems silly to have Halo 4 launching on the Xbox 360 when obviously the 720 is 1 or 2 years out. So, from what I've heard, that was the big rumor I heard. Basically, is that Halo 4 is going to be a launch title for the next system.
Oh shit! We were on a complete tangent, and we went into consoles, and I completely forgot why we were talking about Old Republic in the first place. This was just news. Just a few hours ago, EA has gone from listing the game from to be determined, TBD, to be announced.
TBA.
Yes, and everyone's speculating September to November. They're already come out and said it's going to be this year. But when company says an MMO this year, that's like Blizzard saying it's done.
Well, did they say fiscal 2011 or 2011? So calendar 2011.
They said fiscal 2011, but they also originally said early, first quarter of 2011.
This fiscal for EA runs through March, but hopefully, I would assume they probably want to hit that holiday season.
They have to. With BioWare, with Mass Effect 3 being pushed back, and with Blizzard having BlizzCon this year again, and they're probably going to announce their new MMO. EA has to deliver this year. There's no chance.
Yeah.
But the thing is, with Comic-Con, they're going into Comic-Con full force. They're having a whole bunch of there's a book signing. There's news about new comics, new books. They've already sold out of the screens to actually go play the game. The new raid instances. There's a big. They just said 2 days ago that a brand new big patch is coming to the test servers. Mid this month, like the 27th or something, 26th or something. So they're taking down the servers for 2 weeks to put this patch in and get feedback. And they straight out said there's probably not going to be an open beta for this game, which most MMOs do.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, all right, everyone come in and test everything so we fix it for launch. And they've already come out and said all they're doing is bug hunting at this point. So the game is finished. We know it's finished. They're just testing the shit out of it. So, because the worst thing an MMO can ever do is launch buggy.
I think it's honestly smart for them to not have an open beta for Old Republic.
Exactly.
Granted, there may be more bugs, possibly, but in my experience, whenever I have tested out a beta for an MMO, I'll play it there, but none of that progression carries over, and I don't really, a lot of times I'll play all I want to of that game. So now to play Old Republic, I really have to buy it.
Yeah, and with it being so story heavy, I don't think they want to reveal a lot. So we're going to probably do a special for Comic-Con next week because God knows what's going to get released this weekend.
Well, that and we'll be talking about Captain America, which we'll have seen.
I hope.
Well, I'm going to see it for sure, no matter what. Dude, oh my God.
Yes, some of us work more than the others.
Well, that and some of us will do anything to see a Marvel movie at midnight. Anything.
Yeah, that's true. Like, go to a crappy theater.
Hey, I would go see, as long as I can find it in 3D, that's all I care about.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing we were talking about where, Harry Potter did a shit ton of money this weekend. Yeah, because Friday night when I went to go Friday night to try and find a showing, I actually went up to the movie theater and I saw the parking lot of our AMC 30, which is probably our best theater in town.
As far as quality for what, obviously you pay more, but quality wise, it is a really nice theater. I mean, it's very clean, nice seats, stuff like that.
It's huge too. I haven't gone up to it for a while, so I forgot how huge it is, and I almost want to take pictures and put it on the site.
They're one of our few IMAX theaters too, right?
Yeah, it is our only IMAX theater.
I thought there was another one somewhere.
There used to be the one at the zoo, but they took that down. Which was a true.
Yeah, it was huge.
The Dome IMAX, which I had a chance, and I'm still kicking myself to go see Star Wars Episode 2 on.
Well, yeah, it is Episode 2.
Yeah, but it was a giant fucking screen. But it's the only theater here in Kansas City where we're doing part of our recording from. That is fucking huge. I mean, the entire thing looks like a compound. But the last time I actually saw that parking lot that full was Episode 2, where there was a line all the way out to the street and curving around, and I couldn't find a parking space. I actually didn't go see if there was sold out or not because I couldn't find a parking space. People were parking all the way up at the restaurants. Easily, I would like to say 200, 300, 400 yards, maybe, I don't know, from the entrance of the movie theater. Like, places I've never had to park for a movie.
Right.
Never in my life had to park that far back, and those were the only spots people can find. I'm like, you know what? I think I'll wait a day. I really, really want to see this movie, but I don't want to be the guy stuck in the front row looking all the way up and missing half the film.
I've been there before. Yeah, but you're only talking about Friday night. I mean, Thursday night, I've been to see all the Harry Potter movies at midnight. I've been to see all the Star Wars movies at midnight. I've been to see all the, Spider-Man, all those different comic book movies. Basically, any nerd movie you can name, I've seen it at midnight, including, The Social Network. Basically everything. That's basically had the breadth of all the movies that I see. I try to see them as many as I can at midnight premieres. And yet, this is the only time I've ever had it sell out at every single theater, which is really impressive.
Like, the shitty theater in Kansas City.
Everything. All 2D, all 3D, every single location.
Closed caption. Yeah, it was all gone.
Yeah, it's unheard of, at least, here in Kansas City. So, obviously, this movie is a huge success, and I'm sure Warner Brothers is super happy about it.
J.K. Rowling is now beginning, she's doing the Uncle Scrooge, diving into the pool full of money and swimming around.
Now, where do you think she should go next from here? I mean, obviously there's Pottermore, but what story would you like to see in the Harry Potter universe if you just had to pick one?
See, that's the thing is, will she really do anything? Because, dear God, the woman is rich now. It's like George Lucas. George Lucas didn't do anything for a decade and just went, you know what, I'm going to make films for kids.
Yeah.
And he did, and we all still went and saw it. The other neat little thing is why we were talking about AMC real quick, and I'm pretty sure you don't know about this, and I didn't know about this till I was talking to the people yesterday trying to find a good showing, is I almost was willing to go see a 2D version of it just to get in to see it. Was anytime you see at least in the newer digital AMCs, the closed caption copies of the movie. When I think closed caption, I think, okay, there's going to be words at the bottom. It doesn't work that way.
What is it?
They're actually given special glasses
Uh-huh.
that actually, like, the closed captioning on is projected, but it's only you can watch them with the glasses.
So it's like a
So
special
if you
thing that only certain people in the audience who need it can see.
Exactly. So if you're ever like incredibly desperate to go see a screen, and most people will avoid the closed caption ones because of that assumption that, well, I don't want to see subtitles on my film. You go to that one.
Well, that's actually pretty cool, and it reminds me a lot of that new TV that Sony is putting out, their PlayStation TV that has the full screen split screen option where you can do basically split screen versus, but you both see just a whole screen by wearing glasses, and it's kind of displaying different images to both of you.
Yep. Well, I mean, we're getting close to wrapping up for the
I think
evening because we've pretty much
you wanted to talk
covered.
about Thundercats really quick, though, right?
Yeah, because when we were talking about Voltron earlier, it's like the reboot / sequel has been kind of disappointing. But if you've seen any of this Thundercat stuff, like, it looks freaking fantastic. It is a full reboot. It is not a sequel to the original, but they do hint at a lot of the stuff from the old show. The production value on this seems to be phenomenal. It is not cheesy. You don't have Snarf going Snarf, Snarf, Snarf all the time.
How can you have Thundercats without that? Is what I want to know.
It's excuse me. They've actually talked about it where Snarf is more of like a creature versus a character. So he does make a noise, but it's not, Snarf being like Orko and being an annoying little fucking bastard. There is going to be a 1-hour premiere here at the end of July. Go to Cartoon Network, of course, to check the date for it and make sure, it's Central Standard Time or East Coast, whatever. Go watch the trailers. I put some of the trailers up on the site, and a couple days before it comes out, I will remind everyone at www.geekswitch.net. But go watch this. I have a feeling that they realize they have to put a shit ton of like with the Transformers, they realize we can't screw this up. This is one of those things where the adults are going to watch it with their kids, or the people of my generation want to rewatch it, and they are targeting it later at night. It's not a 2 or 3 in the afternoon or Saturday morning. It's 7 or 8. I believe it's 7 p.m., which is solid time for
it's prime
adult
time,
programming. Yeah, prime time for adult programming. And that's really weird for a cartoon. And that was actually the same time slot they used for Clone Wars, which has done really well. I know a lot of people that hated the first season. It's like, oh, they're making this for kids. And then they start telling these far darker storylines. And okay, maybe this isn't for kids. Maybe they were just trying to balance it for both. And yes, it will be a 1-hour premiere. Which, that's great to begin with. I mean, we're basically getting a movie to start the series. I know you really haven't touched much on this because it's not your forte. Well, you're not the anime guy. I'm the anime guy.
I actually do like Thundercats a lot. I have a Thundercats t-shirt that I wear a lot. I'm kind of a secret fan of the series. I'm not the hugest fan, but I've watched a lot of the old stuff with my dad back when I was a kid, and I'm kind of excited to check it out. Hopefully they do well. I'm gonna go in spoiler free. I'm not gonna watch any of the trailers and stuff. I kind of just want to see how it goes.
No. You need to at least go watch one of the trailers. Trust me.
You sure? I don't know.
Well, okay. Like what? And this isn't a spoiler. This is just kind of a neat little Easter egg. Well, I guess it is a little bit of a spoiler, but anyone who's seen one of the commercials knows this. They do have new voice actors for all the characters.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I would assume.
But Lion-O's father
is played by Lion-O from the original.
Is from the original,
that's great.
So they I won't be surprised if we hear some of the other voice actors in there somewhere. And if we don't hear a goddamn Samoflange reference somewhere, I will be pissed.
I'm just saying, I want to hear Schnarf at some point. Just go off on a Schnarf rampage.
But I don't think he does that. That's the problem. He's more like a cat, cat meows.
Well, maybe one day they can bring back, like an alternate time version of him, and it's, they get the original voice actor, and maybe he's from another universe, and he goes Schnarf, Schnarf. That's all I want. I just remember that as a kid, and I thought it was hilarious.
You know what that's called?
It's called nostalgia.
Jumping the
It's
shark.
nostalgia is what it is for me.
It's called Jumping the Shark.
Yeah, I suppose.
All right.
But you just want to wrap up. You said you had something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I'm going to hint at something. Is we might have an interesting collaboration coming up. We're working on something with another website that might be associated with us. We've already done that with Babel Entertainment with that interview, but we might have some more stuff coming up. Let's find out next week what I'm working on, maybe.
Okay, so until then we can't talk about it. It's very secret.
Yeah, it's something's in the works, and I do know we're going to be talking with another gentleman who does a lot of YouTube videos, who does a lot of reviews for Xbox Live arcade games, and who's had a YouTube channel for a while, a man named Otaku Dante. If anyone follows me on Twitter, I mention him every week because he does do some good work. He's going to be, I guess I can go ahead and announce it now, we're going to be adding him to our link friends, and we're very particular on who we showcase on our website. Babel Entertainment, Big Crits, and now him. We don't have links to anyone else because we want to partner with these people to bring you different content ways, or different groups of content. Like Big Crits is a reality show based around hardcore raiding World of Warcraft, where Babel Entertainment is a rock magazine dedicated to basically East meets West rock and or not rock and roll, but metal rock.
Yeah, all that great stuff, and the great thing is, we're sharing all this great content with them. We're trying to get the word out about these people because we think that they're really doing some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, and I've been talking with him for a while, and we've been helping each other with some stuff. And he does some really good, wonderful the YouTube videos and voiceovers for stuff. So maybe we can work with him and get something else. Maybe we'll try and do another project with him.
Yeah, maybe we can get him on the podcast sometime too, and he can just talk about it.
Yeah, we got to figure out a way to unbalance the weirdness with that, though, with him being Otaku Dante and I'm Dante. So
we'll have to come up with a nickname for one of you or something.
Screw you. No, I'm not getting it. That is my nickname.
Well, we'll get him something new. He can be other Dante.
He can be OD.
Yeah, we'll call him OD. It's perfect. And one thing I wanted to mention really quick before I do the wrap up and closing is obviously Torchwood episode 2 of Miracle Day premiered on Stars this last Friday. We're not going to talk about it this week, but once the series kind of wraps up, we're probably going to do a big spoiler cast and just talk about the whole thing. So that way we don't have to talk about it every week right now.
Yeah, that, and a lot of people don't have access to Stars, and it might end up on Stars has a partnership with Netflix, so we might see them pop up on Netflix as the weeks go.
Oh, did you hear? I think it's Mad Men or some other AMC show is going to be launching live weekly on Netflix this year for premiere, of episodes. Good. So the day after, just like Hulu. So hopefully we'll see that with a lot of cool content.
But that's pretty much it for us this week. Next week we're going to be reviewing all the crazy shit that happens at Comic-Con. And I do know, I don't know when yet because Tony and I have to work this out. We will be doing it'll probably be closer to launch, but I want to do a full hour dedicated to Old Republic.
Oh yeah, for sure. We can work something out for that.
We have to, because that's going to be probably one of the biggest games of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
Hands down.
When the holiday season starts to hit, we're going to be talking about a lot of games, just like in the summer we talk about a lot of movies.
But that's the thing, is I think we're going to see it before holiday. I think it has to happen.
Yeah, well, like I said, holiday is getting sooner and sooner, so holiday's coming up within about a month for games anyway, as far as the big start just roll.
Let's not even think about that. Christmas.
I've got so many games to look forward to reviewing. I'm going to be busy as can be.
I'm still playing games from 3 months ago trying to catch up.
I'm still playing Ocarina of Time, so...
Yeah, there's that too.
A 10-year-old game. It was in 99, I think. So that's 12 years old.
Yeah, you have no fucking excuse. Let's face it, because it was. They did put it on the Wii.
I have it on Wii also as a sad thing, and I've had it on
It was on
GameCube.
Wii,
I've had it on
GameCube.
I've had it on Nintendo 64. I've had it on everything. I just have never beaten it. That's the sad part. So with that,
Did you? Speaking of, did you get your soundtrack?
I didn't because I just rented it from GameFly. I ended up not buying it.
I see. Mine's still sealed. I don't know if I'm going to open it because they were so goddamn limited.
It's pretty cool. How's it look? Did they send you like a sleeve or anything? Or?
Yeah, no, it's like a normal, CD, and it's still shrink wrapped. It's even like they would normally sell it in a store pro shrink wrapped, but on here it says not for resale. This product is not for sale and for use only in the U.S. and Canada. Not even in Japan. That's kind of
weird.
Rental prohibited.
Oh well, I guess
Yeah.
I won't give you any money to borrow it.
Well, that's the thing is, I think I'm actually going to keep it in the shrink wrap, and
Yeah, I'm worth something. Keep it around.
shit, maybe we'll give it away. I don't know. Nah, no, we're not.
Who knows? Maybe if we get another one.
Yeah, if I get a second one, we might hold a contest to give it away.
And I think that's going to wrap it up for us this week. Thanks for listening again. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at Geek Switch. My personal Twitter account is at Tony Livingston. You can follow Dante at Kierwin. If you want to like us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/geekswitch.net. You can email the podcast at podcast@geekswitch.net. Anything else we're missing there? I know. Google Plus. If you're on Google Plus, hit me up. Tony Livingston on there. New service.
I'm actually going to keep my just like my Facebook. I'm going to keep my Google Plus a little private, but we'll probably have one up for Geek Switch here soon. I've got tomorrow off, so. Yeah.
All right, and of course, if you want to keep up with all the news, just check back on the website, which is geekswitch.net every week. Check back every day, and we'll have the podcast up for you within a week. So until then, keep switched on, and we'll see you later.